Hey everyone, welcome back to the Model Factory. So if you remember, it's been about 2 or 3 years ago now, I built this Tom the Mongoose McEwen funny car. And this was one of the first builds that I did that I ever really detailed the engine and did like all of the wiring and all of the plumbing and all of that kind of stuff. And recently, I've had some inquiries from some of my subscribers on how I do or how I did all of the wiring on this thing as far as the plumbing goes, fuel lines and oil lines and things like that, and what parts I used on there as far as those lines go. So that's what this video is going to be about. Alright, so I went ahead and took the body off on this so we can get a better look at the engine and some of the detailing that's going on here. Now, there's a lot of Protec parts used on this, and if you go to Protec's website, you'll be able to find a lot of these parts on there. But I want to specifically focus on the plumbing for the fuel lines and for the oil lines on this. And that is where I seem to get a lot of the questions that people are wanting to know. What diameter lines am I using, and how exactly are they ran on these funny cars? And so anyway, let's first of all start out with diameter sizes. Now there's two different sizes of braided line that I have used on this, and the first of those is right here. This is the Protec 0.025 braided line, and this one is specifically denoted as fuel line, and that is part number PTMC 20. And there you go, right there. So this is what I use for my fuel lines. And then also I used for the oil lines, which is a little bit heavier line. It is part number PTMC 21, and this is the braided line 0.035. Now this one is denoted as a fuel line also, but you can use it as an oil line. There's a few other different braided line sizes that Protec offers, and most of those have a denoting for what kind of line they can be for, for brake lines, fuel lines, oil lines, coolant lines, whatever they can be, and some of those can double as a couple of different things as well. But those are what I use for the fuel lines and the oil lines on this particular funny car. I felt they were right in scale and just worked really, really well for that. Now, for the fittings on these, I'm going to show you guys some up-close pictures at the end of this video, so stick around because I'm going to let you guys see some up-close videos of all around the engine underneath so that you can see how this wiring is ran, hopefully. Maybe that'll help some of you guys out that are wanting to do one of these engines as well. Now anyway, back to the fittings. The fittings that I use for this, when we're working with the fuel line, which was the 0.025, these are the fittings that go along with that. It's part number PTMC 25, and this is hex fitting, and that is 0.032. And again, these are for the 0.025 braided line. It says that right here on the packaging, and it says it when you order from Protec themselves. But that is the fittings for the fuel lines. And then the fitting for the oil lines is PTMC 26, and that is hex fittings 0.042. And those were for those oil lines, which were the 0.035 braided line. So anyway, lots of numbers there, guys. I know, but if you write this stuff down, then you can have it. Now, one thing that is really cool, on the back of the packaging for the braided line, Protec puts one of these little charts down here, and this shows you which fitting sizes go with which lines, which braided lines. It also tells you what drill bits to use, so that you can make sure you're drilling your holes at the right size to fit the lines. And then it goes on to the different scales and everything like that. So it's a really, really useful little chart back there to help you make sure you're using the right parts. Anyway, and then since we're talking about the oil lines, I figured I'd throw this in here. I do have a dual oil filter set up on this, and I use the ProTech Dual. This is their dual remote oil filter unit, and it is part number PTMC 50. And it works really well with that. I think most of these kits come with a remote dual oil filter setup, but I went ahead and used the ProTech part. Like I said, there's quite a few other ProTech parts on this, but we're just focusing on those lines in this video. So yeah, those are the sizes of lines and fittings that I use. I do paint my fittings to replicate the blue and red anodized fittings, that you would find on these type of lines. And if you're interested, I do have a video that I show how I do that. And I'm gonna, if you can click on the little video that's playing up here in the corner on screen, and that will link you over to that other video if you're interested in seeing how I paint the fittings for these and get that blue and red anodized look on them. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's the lines that I use for these funny cars. I do use some other lines and things on other cars that are different sizes. But for these funny cars in particular, this is the lines that worked well for this one. I am going to now, post some pictures up, so stick around, and hopefully this will help you guys see in a little more detail and maybe help you get your builds detailed out. So eat, sleep, styrene, everybody. Keep building those awesome models, and I'll see you all in the next video.